Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Two Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Denton Day, 25 minutes or so from right now, talking college football. Got a new Heisman Trophy winner. Talk to Denton about that and a lot more with our guy from SiriusXM's College Football Overtime. He's with us every single Monday, so look forward to that conversation. I've been frantically refreshing Twitter. I don't think LSU has landed any transfers in the last 45 seconds, but you never really know. They've been coming pretty fast and furious over the last 3 days, and there are some names I think to watch for that I want to kind of discuss here, and if they do end up in Baton Rouge, we'll put that in cement. But one of them that I think makes a ton of sense for LSU is Nick Anderson. Nick Anderson is from Katy, Texas. He was a 4-star recruit. He committed initially to Oregon, ended up signing with Oklahoma. And he is now transferring from Oklahoma. He was out most of the season with an injury, but he fits the mold of a guy that LSU might really, really need. And when I talk about the receiving room that LSU has right now, you're talking about a group that has a lot of guys that are similar in their skill sets. Chris Hilton, Xavier Thomas, and Berrien Brown are all speedsters. They're kick returners. They're fast. Have they been wildly productive in college? I wouldn't suggest that. Brown, the most productive of the three. But they kind of have similar skill sets. You do have Kyle Parker, who's more of a technician. You do have Aaron Anderson, who's a little bit more of a water bug and a little bit more laterally quick than those guys. But I think you need a big physical body that can go up and be a possession-style receiver for you. And that, I think, is what Anderson brings a little bit. He's 6'3.5". He's got a bigger frame, bigger body than those guys. And so that's a guy that I think LSU really would do well to land. I know that A&M is very much in the mix here, and I know that LSU is very much in the mix here. And for me, this is another one of those examples when I know that you're in a war with another team. If you can come out on top, that means LSU really is playing for keeps. And that's the only way we can know, is if the results come. And yeah, I think there are some other schools that were in on Berrien Brown. Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen the list of quote-unquote demands that reportedly Jack Pyburn had for Florida, and I know that he now has committed to LSU. So it stands to reason that LSU is doing a really good job with NIL here. But this is another situation with Nick Anderson where another heavy hitter is very much involved, and we'll see if LSU can get that to the finish line. If they can add Nick Anderson, and I can look at him and Kyle Parker and Chris Hilton and Xavier Thomas and Aaron Anderson and Berrien Brown, all of a sudden you're good at wide receiver. That was a big concern of mine as of 2 weeks ago. Like, who the heck do they have to catch the football? C.J. Daniels is gone. Shelton Sampson's moved out of there. Like, they just don't have a lot of numbers, and you kind of factor in the fact that Chris Hilton has generally been hurt, and then you look at Kyle Parker, who is hurt. It's like, man, they gotta figure something out. And Nick Anderson, I think, would really make that offense look very talented from a skill position perspective. You tell me that you've got an offense around Garrett Nussmeier that's got Trey Green and Bauer Sharp at tight end. You move back to running back, and you've got what we think is an all-SEC tight back in Caden Durham. Caleb Jackson is still here. You bring in Harlan Berry and JT Lindsey. Then you go to the outside, and you can tell me that you've got Berrien Brown and Nick Anderson to add into the talented guys that you had remaining. Like, that's an offense that I can expect to score some points should they go up front and add one or two offensive linemen and then have this group that Brad Davis has recruited and is developing to grow up a little bit. Like, that looks like a pretty solid offense on paper. So I'm looking at Nick Anderson here over the next 24 hours, and we'll see if LSU can potentially get him in the boat. Safety is another spot that LSU is not finished with. They've got to add in the secondary. The only guy that they've brought in the secondary thus far is Jakeem Jackson. He'll play a corner. They need help in the secondary. Sage Ryan has jumped into the transfer portal. The name that continues to surface on the Twitter streets is Tawfiq Bayard. He is going to visit Baton Rouge this week. That's a guy who is being courted by a number of different universities. Colorado is in the mix here. And LSU has gotten a visit from him. He's a safety. He's 6'1". He's about 200 pounds. Had a really productive first year at South Florida. He was not one of these highly heralded recruits. Like Varian Brown and Nick Anderson were high-level 4-star recruits. Jakeem Jackson was a high 4-star recruit. This is kind of the other side of that coin where Tawfiq Bayard was a 3-star. I mean, I'm looking at his on-3 ranking. He was 1,447th. In the on-3 rankings. He was the number 147 safety, and that's how you end up at South Florida. But he goes in there, he plays, and he was productive. And LSU needs just about any help they can get at safety at this point. You're going to watch some young players play in this bowl game at safety. Deshaun Spears very likely will play a lot of snaps in this bowl game, and I would project him to be in the starting lineup next year. But realistically, you don't have anything set in stone at safety. So I think Tawfiq Bayard would be a quality add there from a size perspective and a productivity perspective. That's a guy that I have my eye on here over the next couple of days as well. Then another one is the name that I mentioned at the top of the show, but I'll bring back in here as we kind of go through this wish list for LSU. And I think that LSU's got to add on the offensive line. I feel like that what they've got currently is not enough in terms of numbers and in terms of talent. You've got to bring in proven guys, and Braylon Moore makes a ton of sense. I know that Shea over on 3, Shea Dixon has put his RPM pick on LSU to land Braylon Moore. Steve Wiltfong has done the same thing. That's usually a pretty good sign for LSU when those two guys put their predictions in. Moore is a 2-year starter at Virginia Tech and would help you in the middle of the offensive line where you could move DJ Chester maybe to his more comfortable position of guard. I think that makes a ton of sense. So these are the guys that you're looking for. I mentioned at the top of the show, like I think LSU is going to add 13, 14 guys from the transfer portal in this class. There has clearly been a philosophical shift in LSU's program with understanding how you can field a championship caliber team. And Brian Kelly said this in his press conference last week, like we can't do this playing 4 freshmen and 3 sophomores at a given time. Like you've got to go get veteran, old players to come in and plug gaps for you. And they've started that process in a very big way. And I think that they'll continue that over the next couple of days. They're continuing to bring guys in on visits, and those have been pretty powerful visits over this point in time. I'm not sure where Braylon Moore is looking at this point, but I know that a lot of folks over at On 3 believe that LSU is the team to beat there, so that would be a very, very big get for the Tigers. So I think for me, the next 3 names that I'm looking for LSU are Nick Anderson, Tawfiq Bayard, and Braylon Moore to jump in this class. And I'm feeling better right now than I did 3 weeks ago about LSU's chances in 2025. I'll be pretty candid with you. When LSU lost that game to Alabama, I looked at the roster, looked at what was going to be walking out the door, and looked at the schedule for next year that includes at Alabama, and at Ole Miss, and at Clemson, and at Oklahoma. And I'm looking at this going, I mean, they're not going to be a contender next year either. So you're talking about going into year 5 without a team that's a playoff team for Brian Kelly. Like that would be a tough pill to swallow. I'm not telling you they're a playoff team right now. I think you're a long way away from that. I'm telling you you're a lot better than you were 3 days ago. And I went over all the transfers they brought in to this point at the top of the show. You can go back and listen to that on demand wherever you find your sound. And now we're starting to look at some more names that they could add, and they're being really aggressive in getting folks to campus and getting those visits taken care of. And I think they're doing a pretty good job of plugging some holes with some veteran guys. And I think that continues over the next 72 hours or so. So if anything happens, we will certainly jump all over it here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And you can always read about this stuff at LouisianaSports.net. It's completely free. Every time LSU's gotten a commitment, we've posted that up there on the site. We've got basketball stories, Saints stories, Pro Football Focus from the Saints yesterday. LSU baseball got a commit yesterday. That's up on the site. So if you're an LSU fan, you're a Saints fan, you're an SEC football fan, and you want some free news, LouisianaSports.net, always a fantastic place to go check all of that out. Our Monday shows are brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Denton Day is coming up in about 20 minutes talking national college football. Don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. You can start your shopping process right there online, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Check out their fantastic line of Genesis vehicles. And you honestly never have to set foot on the dealership lot if you don't want to. They can do everything remotely for you. They can do digital delivery. They can do e-contracts. And if you'd like to test drive, which, why wouldn't you? One of their brand ambassadors will come to you. You never have to leave the office or home. They'll drive right to you. You can get behind the wheel of that car, take it for a quick test drive, and they'll bring you home, bring you back to the office, and take that car back on in. And if you want that one, they'll deliver it to you digitally there. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find them online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every new purchase comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty at Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Something just popped up on my Instagram feed as I was scrolling through in the break. I had forgotten about this. So you remember when in the Georgia-Florida game, Georgia went down and scored the opening touchdown and the entire team ran into the end zone and got the celebration penalty because Mark Richt told them to? Everyone remembers that because it was ridiculous. I mean, Sturdivant, the offensive lineman's doing this just crazy dance in the end zone, and they got the flag. Do you remember what happened the next year?
No.
I didn't either. I had forgotten about it, and it just popped up on my Instagram. Florida was crushing them the next year. They were up 30-something, and they had the ball late, and Urban Meyer called his timeouts with under a minute to go to extend the game.
Wow, I forgot about that.
I did not remember that either. I love that. I just think
good stuff.
I love when teams really don't like each other. That makes me very happy. And I think Mark Richt's like one of the nicest guys. And he just wanted his team fired up, I guess. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time here talking some NFL stuff, just some general storylines from the week. This might be completely wrong. Like, I might be completely wrong in this instance, but it feels like injuries are becoming far more prevalent in the NFL than in the past. Like, what is going on with the Lions right now is just nuts. Paul Hembekides from ESPN said they've started like 36 guys on defense. Like, that doesn't even seem possible. And you look at what they've got on notable injuries. Aiden Hutchinson, and they had 4 defensive linemen get hurt for a significant amount of time. Like, that's your whole defensive line. They've had 4 different linebackers, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, all injured. Carlton Davis, Emmanuel Mosley, Ennis Rakestraw, all 3 corners have been hurt. And they've had safety injured as well. And they're still 12-2, even with all these ridiculous injuries. And it's starting to buckle a little bit because they're not getting stops in the way that they did early. They were great on defense early in the season, but they've just lost almost everyone. And Aaron Glenn's like trying to hold this thing together with duct tape. And like, I just can't imagine the angst that is going on for a Detroit Lions fan who, quite literally, no matter the age of said Lions fan, has never seen a really good Lions team. Like, when was the last time the Lions were really, really good? And you've got what most considered to be the best team in football like a month ago, before all these injuries started happening. And you feel like it's slipping away all due to injuries. And I'm looking at the Saints and their massive run of injuries, and it's like basically 70% of the NFL is how healthy are you? Can you field a team? And at a certain point, you've got to build depth on your roster. But there becomes a threshold where like no one could reasonably establish enough depth to offset the rash of injuries. And the Lions have blown past that. And the Saints did that on offense for a time there where you didn't have your quarterback, your top 2 offensive pass catchers, your gadget guy, and your entire interior offensive line. Like, you can't sustain that. I just rattled off, I mean, how many injuries did Schefter list here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 injuries. That's more than the lineup. There's only 11 guys out there on the field. So that's wild. It's also wild to me that Patrick Mahomes' ankles somehow, some way, know when it's December, and they just start to malfunction. It wouldn't be December if Mahomes didn't have some sort of an ankle injury. And, of course, he did suffer it again. And I'm going to put this out on the record. I'm going to go ahead and get out in front of this. I don't think the Chiefs are even going to make the Super Bowl. Their record is phenomenal. It would be foolish to wager significantly against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. But as I look at this, like, I think I could name 4 teams that I like better than the Chiefs. And that's wild to say, considering who's still taking snaps for them and who is still under center for them, even if he's a little bit hobbled, which he is every year at this point. But they're getting by on the skin of their teeth, and I just don't know if that's sustainable over a 4-week run in January into February. You need to impose your will on some teams, and I just don't feel like this Chiefs team does it like Chiefs teams in the past. They've morphed their identity where they were this high-flying, fun-and-gun, Tyreek Hill, Mahomes, up and down the field. You know, that was what they were, and they obviously ditched Tyreek Hill, and they've become more of a defensive-oriented team that just relies on Mahomes to make enough plays to win. And that's hard to argue with that formula considering their record at this point. But I just feel like you play with fire that many times in the playoffs against the best teams in football. I just don't know that it's gonna fly, and I don't know that it's gonna fly for them moving forward. So you have a thought on that hot take there that the Chiefs are not the juggernaut that they have been over the last 5-6 years back? I mean, I'm thinking like I just don't. Even though their record says they're that good, I just can't get on board with the fact that they play a 1-score game every week.
Yeah, I saw a stat that they are one of 4 teams, I think, in the NFL that hasn't scored more than 30 points in a game, and the other teams are all the Giants, Jets, like really, really terrible teams, and yet the Chiefs are 12-1. It just doesn't add up. I mean, I don't know. It's really crazy.
And the other piece to this, like, I don't even know what I can add to this discussion because it's such a cut and dried issue. But I do not understand why players week after week after week are dropping the ball before they go in the end zone. Like, this is not a nuanced discussion that we've got to like peel back the layers on. It's just a stupid thing to do. But like, my question, I guess, would be to these players that continue to do this. Like, how cool do you think it looks to drop the ball a millisecond into the end zone? Like, how much of a hit would you take in terms of style points if you just took 3 steps into the end zone before you dropped the ball?
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's an epidemic. Like, it was unbelievably, like, no one could believe it when Deshaun Jackson did it the first time. It's like, I can't believe he just dropped the ball. And then it just keeps happening. This is years that we've gone on, and folks just have to get rid of the ball immediately. And some, folks may have potentially had Jonathan Stewart on the fantasy squad.
Jonathan Stewart. Wow, what a callback there, huh?
Is that who it was?
Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Stewart was
a running back for the Panthers for a while there.
Yeah, he was with D'Angelo Williams.
Yeah.
My bad. Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
Dropped the ball. Some folks had a fantasy impact there of 8 points.
Yeah, that was me. I had him on my team.
Yep. -6 for the touchdown and -2 for the drop. But like, it's just wild. That,
it is.
Like, and like the one famous instance of it happening for LSU was Tyron did it when he ran the punt back against Georgia in the SEC championship game in 2011, and he tossed the ball beforehand. They didn't catch it and go back and look at it, but he did toss the ball before he went in. That was even more so like a showboat deal because he tossed it to the ref. This is just the whole thing where we're dropping the ball. Again, there's just not a lot of nuanced conversation that you can have to like break it down. It just blows my brain that this happens week after week after week, but certainly did in the game on Sunday. And Bills look real good. Do we feel like Joe Brady will be a head football coach next year? No way. I can't see it. I mean, if it happens, I'll be shocked, but at the end of the day, he's one of those young, hot. I mean, what's different than him and Mike McDaniel? What's different than him and McVay when he was hired? What's different than him? I mean, who else is a young hot shot? I mean, Matt LaFleur was a young offensive guy. Yeah. Like, it feels like that's kind of who they hire. Yeah. I just wonder, it's hard to really diagnose how good of a coach Joe Brady really is because he's been really good with the Bills, who have Josh Allen, who was really good with LSU when they had Joe Burrow. He was terrible with the Panthers when they didn't have any good players. So it's hard to really discern whether or not he's really a good coach. Should the Saints hire him? No. Okay. I think I'm going to do a station survey for LouisianaSports.net coming up. Now the Saints are officially out of the playoff mix. Say who do you think the next Saints head coach will be? Curious if we get any Darren Rizzi answers.
Interesting, yeah.
I had a friend go to bat for him in my group text yesterday. Another friend said we of course cannot hire the Riz, but I think that's a point of contention. Joe Brady's a name that you've seen popped out. Like I think the Saints are going to have to go down the wish list like 2 or 3 because I just think there are better spots than New Orleans. Like Chicago to me is a much better spot. You've got a young quarterback on a rookie deal, a ton of cap space. They stink this year, and they've been a dysfunctional organization for like decades, but it feels like a better landing spot than New Orleans at this point. Like who else is coming open this year?
Probably the Panthers.
The Jets. I don't know if the Panthers, they can't come open again.
I mean, they fire them every year.
They can't do that again. The Jets, that one is interesting because they do have some real talent on that roster, but you probably have to deal with Aaron Rodgers, and then like, what do you do? That's a complicated situation. I don't know. But I just don't feel like the Saints are going to be able to take the cream of the crop. Maybe you got to slide down that list a little bit, and I'm curious how many rungs down that ladder you have to walk before you get to Joe Brady, who's obviously ridden Josh Allen to some pretty high highs this year for the Bills. I think the Bills are a legitimate Super Bowl. I mean, I think they may be the favorite to win the Super Bowl at this point, to where they're playing, the way that Mahomes is banged up, the way that the Lions are banged up, and the way that the Chiefs have to kind of limp by. But just some ski-scatting and bebopping around the NFL there for some storylines from Sunday. College football storylines in abundance here with the transfer portal, the Heisman Trophy, college football playoff, all that. We'll talk about it next with our guy Denton Day from SiriusXM College Football Overtime. Plus, he's a Commanders guy, so we'll talk to him about yesterday's result for Jaden and the Commanders in New Orleans. That's all next on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is that website. How about a golf simulator? Christmas time coming, maybe a little bit late to snag that for Christmas, but holiday season's here. If you'd like to get a golf simulator installed at your home and you're thinking, I don't even know where to start with that, I can tell you where to start right here. Audio Video Security Solutions. Mitchell Fisher and his team are happy to help you with the installation of that golf simulator. If you've got some room in your house, they have done it here, and they can do it again. His cell phone number is 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. Love being able to give you Mitchell Fisher's personal cell phone number. He's the owner of the company, Audio Video Security Solutions, and he'll be your point person to get that project started. You're not going to be way down the line and call. You're not getting some call center in Atlanta. Nope. Mitchell, right here in Baton Rouge, and he can help you with all your audio, all your video, all your security as well. But if you want to have some fun, put that golf simulator in the house, they can do it. Right now, Cassie's scrolling through on YouTube on their page, and you can see a picture of the golf simulator that they have installed, and they can help you with that process as well. It gets dark real early now if you want to hit some balls after work. Simulator is your best option. You can do that with our friends at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online, avssla.com, avssla.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
LSU just keeps pulling them in the transfer portal. This time, Virginia Tech transfer cornerback Mansour Delane has committed to LSU, according to Hayes Fawcett of On3. 6 foot, 185-pound cornerback, 146 tackles, 16 pass breakups, 6 picks, and 4 forced fumbles. A 3-year starter for the Hokies. Apparently, this guy's a big-time talent there from Blacksburg. There was some thought that he may be a high NFL draft pick. I'm not sure if he's planning to test those waters or not, but he's committed to LSU, and Tigers have really, really drastically improved the roster over the course of the last 72 hours, and I don't expect him to slow down anytime soon. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward. Let's bring in our guy, Denton Day, SiriusXM's College Football Overtime, joining us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Denton, how we doing?
Hunt, what's going on, man? How are you?
We're portaling. That's really all we're doing down here in Baton Rouge. There's a lot of portaling that's going on, and LSU is being real aggressive at the moment, and it's been pretty good. I want to talk some NFL with you. Where was your confidence level in the Washington Commanders as the Saints came out for a 2-point conversion there with no time on the clock?
Not great. Not great at all, especially compared to the confidence in the first half. I mean, we were doing a live remote at a bar in Maryland, and the whole bar was on edge as we gathered around a television to watch that final play, and we were elated when Spencer Rattler was just off the mark. It was a near historic collapse for Washington, and being on air, you don't want to cuss up a storm, but it was close. It was close. If that would have completed, it wouldn't have been good.
What are your thoughts on the second half of that game? Because, like you said, the first half just complete control by the Commanders, and then they kind of couldn't get anything going offensively in the second half.
Well, I don't know how you guys feel about this in Louisiana, but we did have quite a bit of fun over some pictures of Jake Haener, like some official team pictures of Jake Haener, and it was very zesty in the first half, and it was like a real football player playing quarterback in the second half. But this is the second time in as many games that Washington's offense has had a really good first half, at least on the scoreboard, and then really struggled in the second half. They did the same thing to the Tennessee Titans. The only difference is they put up 28 points early, and that's a hard lead to blow. So I'm a little concerned about it. I thought Jaden played well. It was a weird game, certainly, but there are not a lot of guys for him to throw to outside of Terry McLaurin. There's not a lot of separations, which is why you saw him get sacked 8 times yesterday.
And McLaurin got open twice, and I know it was a Terry McLaurin fantasy football owner who was really needing some points late in the afternoon, and Jaden misfired twice there on what would have been walk-in touchdowns, which hurt. Either one of those converts, then you're talking about a completely different ballgame where Washington controls it and wins by 2 scores. But he didn't connect there. I'm curious your thoughts. Where is the with the fan base there in the nation's capital? We got a chance to get in the playoffs and make a run this year, and then where is it where this is just the beginning of what should be a really good decade, hopefully, of Washington football? Where's the balance there?
It is. I would say right now it is a balance. Now, this fan base has been tortured for 30 years.
Yes.
So there are some people that maybe are not comfortable in this spot. Like there's some PTSD from the RG3 year in 2012 where people are too worried about things going wrong in the playoffs. But I think for most fans that have their head on their shoulders, it's a nice balance. I mean, if you can get into the postseason and you can kind of get that first experience under your belt, because I know, in the NFL, it is very much experience in the postseason. Even Patrick Mahomes didn't run the table his first year in the league. He came pretty close, but he didn't run the table his first year in the league. So I think getting that experience and then realizing that with Jaden, with Terry, with guys like Marshawn Lattimore, who was a non-factor in the best way possible yesterday, you have your core group of guys to move forward with.
All right, let's talk some college football. I mentioned in the first hour with the news last week that Brian Kelly was donating $1 million to LSU's athletic program, and then you saw today Mike Norvell give $4.5 million of his salary back to Florida State. Do you feel like with this NIL and the revenue sharing that's coming here in 4 months, that coaches are going to start taking haircuts on their salary so that there's enough money to go around to pay these players right now?
Yeah, definitely. And I am curious, Brian Kelly donating it. I wonder if he gets the tax write-off there versus Mike Norvell giving it back. But definitely, I mean, some of these salaries for coaches were getting to the point where it was, I would say, borderline astronomical. I mean, we're going to get to the point soon, if nothing changed, about guys getting $15 million per year. And that's just not sustainable if you have to end up paying everybody else. And, guys on Twitter like Jay Billish are going to say there's just not enough money, and he's making a joke out of it. But at a certain point, there is a finite level to this money. And once you start delegating this to certain areas and under the assumption that you're going to have to, figure out some sort of Title IX way to do that, so you're not just giving every single penny to the football program, there is a finite number that you can start handing out to these coaches. So I think it's smart that these coaches are getting on this early, and I think it's going to be a much more regular routine thing. Now, I will say I was a little surprised that Norvell offered $4 million. That seems like a lot, but I think this is something you're going to see coaches do much more frequently.
Let's talk about the transfer portal and where it falls on the calendar here, because LSU is not playing for anything in the Texas Bowl, so nobody in this little bubble cares. But Penn State's in the playoff, and their backup quarterback helps the team, and he's out of there before they play in a playoff game against SMU coming up next week. What is the national perspective on some of these teams that are in the playoff and they're having players bail weeks before the game?
It's incredibly idiotic from a management standpoint. I feel terrible for Bo. I think he's in a tough spot. I thought James Franklin actually came out there. He kind of ripped guys a new one, and he was right. The players are put in a very tough position, and I don't understand how with the adaptation of the 12-team playoff, you knew this was going to overlap. It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. When you're building your calendar, you realize these two things are happening at the same time. I don't know how there isn't some sort of waiver that can be signed that said, I'm going to enter the transfer portal, I'm going to play at a new school, but I'm also going to finish out this season if my team is in the college football playoff. I feel like there should be some sort of way where that can be able to work itself out, and then you don't have these sorts of scenarios, because the worst thing that you can happen is, let's just say hypothetically, I don't want this to happen, but if Drew Aller goes down with something, maybe he rolls his ankle the wrong way, you're not going to your third string quarterback, and that's tough. And then you're robbing Bo Prevola of an opportunity to have played in the college football playoff as well, which is also tough. So I don't love the way this is designed. I think there needs to be some sort of litigation, if you will, to allow guys to still finish the season out while also making it clear that they're going to enter the transfer portal and to seek their other options out.
What do you think about the transfer portal overall? I mean, you're talking about Marshall, like saying their whole team's leaving. I mean, what is your take on this day and age of college football?
I mean, I love that it gives athletes the ability to get a better future for themselves. I hate that you have a team like Marshall, and I guess they're probably the first one this has happened to legitimately in a non-COVID year, but they're certainly not going to be the last, where they now don't get to play a bowl game because they lost 29 dudes in a week. You know, I know sometimes we think of it, especially at bigger schools, right? Like if you're a Power 4 school, you likely have 100-some-odd guys on the roster. You don't want to lose 29 dudes in a week, but you might be able to handle it. Some of these other schools that are D1, they don't have 150 to 120 dudes on a roster, so you lose 29 guys. That's like a fourth of your team, sometimes a third of your team completely out. So I don't love the way that this is currently being designed. I don't love the way that the transfer portal is where it is now, but I also get it because you are still operating under the idea that they're student athletes. You have to base this around school calendars. We kind of know that maybe not everybody is as focused academically. Like, I don't know that you're checking majors before transferring to schools, or at least everybody is. They're going to where they're getting some money. They're going to where they want to play football. But I think the way that this is designed, as they are still student athletes, you're kind of in a tough spot because you can't fix that.
Do you think we're going to be able to transfer as many times you want, wherever you want, in perpetuity, or do you think there are going to be guardrails that eventually come back?
I mean, I hope there's guardrails that comes back. I saw a meme today about this Bear Alexander guy who has a Georgia tattoo, a USC profile picture, and he just transferred to Penn State. Like, buddy, that's too many times. I mean, that's his third team, and I think as many years. He might have stayed a year and a half at one school, so maybe he's played 40 years, and he's now been on 3 different teams. Like, I don't understand where the benefit is in that. Like, I love the idea of getting to move if you are not getting playtime. Like, for example, with Bo Prevola, he knows that Drew Aller's coming back. He wants to go play. I love that he has the opportunity to move, but if you're moving 3 times, I mean, what's like TJ Finley's going to be on like his 5th school.
5th, yeah.
Guy, like, you got to find something else to do at some point, right? So I don't love the unlimited transfers. I think that needs to be kind of adjusted.
Zach Calzada entered the transfer portal earlier today. I saw that name pop up. I don't even remember where he was, but he was at LSU, and then he was at A&M, then he was at Auburn, and then he's somewhere else, and now he's transferring again. And Finley went from LSU to Auburn to Texas State to Western Kentucky, and now he's going somewhere else. So that's just that's seeing the world through the eyes of college football, I guess. One guy that transferred once, now he's going to transfer to the NFL, is Travis Hunter. He's your Heisman Trophy winner. When you saw the votes tabulated, what was your first thought?
I was really intrigued. Honestly, my first thought was, who the hell voted for Kyle McCord to win the Heisman Trophy? There was a lot of votes there. I was like, what the hell? But I liked that this was close. I was on air while that was taking place, and I was taking calls leading up to it, and it felt like all of the public was very much on Ashton Genty. And then to see the amount of first place votes that Travis Hunter got, I don't have a vote, but if I did, it would have been for Travis Hunter. I think he is the right winner of this, but I do love when these things are legit conversations. As much fun as it is to have a situation like last year when Jaden won or when Joe Burrow won it all those years ago, where it is, a no doubter because someone is so good. I do like when there is a conversation around that. I think it builds the buzz of the award. And the Heisman Trophy, as far as I'm concerned, is the most prestigious trophy in all of sports, outside of championships, I would assume, but it's the most prestigious trophy in all the sports. So the fact that it was a legit conversation all the way up to the actual ceremony, I thought was really healthy for college football.
What's the future of Coach Prime in Boulder? Obviously, it helps when you got the Heisman Trophy winner and maybe a top 5 pick and your son at quarterback. Well, those two guys are going to be gone next year. Do you think Colorado continues to be a contender in the Big 12, or do you think that those two guys did a lot of heavy lifting?
I definitely think those two guys did a lot of heavy lifting, but now we're going to get to see what Deion is really made of as a college football coach. I think he stays in college. I don't think he's going to jump to the NFL. I don't think there are any good situations for him to jump to the NFL unless he wants to go continue to coach his son. But at a certain point, you got to go let your son live. Like, let him spread his wings. He's a good player, and he can have some real success in the NFL outside of Deion Sanders. I think he stays in college. It's now going to be able, like, all right, what is your program going to look like when you don't have the definitive best player in college football and one of the best quarterbacks in college football? Can you develop guys? We haven't really seen a lot of Colorado players really develop into superstars outside of those two guys who already kind of were superstars by the time they got there. So I'm very fascinated to see what it's going to look like when he actually has to start developing players. I think he can do it. It's just going to be a fun process to watch.
Last one here. Bill Belichick headed to Chapel Hill. Your reaction to that, and how long do you think he sticks around?
I think he stays there 2 years. It was stunning until I put thought into it. And Bill Belichick, ever since Tom Brady left, has been on this quest to prove that he's smarter than everybody else. And you know this, Hunt. I know this. When you get in our profession, you have a mentor that says you got to zig when everybody zags. And Bill Belichick has spent the last 5 years attempting to zig when everybody thinks that he should zag. He doesn't like the politics of the NFL, so he goes to college football. Like, college football has way more politics in it than the NFL does, just based on some of the things that are going around at the biggest level. So I think it makes a lot of sense just based off of his personality type, it seems. I don't know what it's going to be like when he starts recruiting. I can't imagine Bill Belichick. Jim Harbaugh, I can imagine doing squats with high schoolers in Idaho. I cannot imagine Bill Belichick doing that. So we'll see.
We certainly will. Next week, we'll talk some college football playoff. Thanks for the time, Denton.
All right, Hunt. Appreciate it, man.
Denton Day, SiriusXM College Football Overtime with us every single Monday. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. All your printing, scanning, copying needs, it's Gulf Coast Office Products. Wherever you are in the state of Louisiana, they can absolutely help you out. Contact Trey Veal and our friends over there at Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. We'll close things out with a little Take It or Leave It coming up next on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. Never know when that loss is coming. Never know when that hurricane's going to form. You never know when that car accident's going to happen. The hacker's going to get in there with that cyber attack. But you can know before it happens that you're taken care of as opposed to being reactionary. The worst thing in insurance, and trust me, I did it for 7 years, is when there's some issue and then a claim comes up and everybody's got to run and see if you're covered. Don't let that happen. You got to be proactive, and that's what the Highland Insurance Group can do. You should trust your insurance broker like you trust your attorney, like you trust your CPA. They should be a trusted part of your organization, and that's what the Highland Insurance Group is for. If you don't have that kind of relationship with your broker right now and you're a business owner, make that call or go see them online at HighlandIG.com. Employment practices, liability, crime, cyber, D&O, umbrella, all your property and casualty needs can be taken care of. They've got dozens of markets so they can place you in the right spot for your business. The Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Hopefully Hunt remembered to bring his laptop charger. Nah, there's no chance.
I did not bring my laptop charger to the desk today. And,
Really, you didn't?
I have a dead laptop.
Oh, wow. Isn't that a crazy concept, Hunt? When you have a laptop and has a battery and the percentage goes down to 0,
Black
it dies.
screen, just
Yeah.
Nothing.
Crazy how that works, you know? It really is. Like, when you have a charger, it charges the battery and it doesn't die.
It's up there.
It's a novel concept.
We'll just plug it back in when we finish up.
Yeah, it's really good.
Story. I'm hoping this afternoon I'm writing a Nick Anderson commitment story on a charged laptop.
Well,
nice.
You'll have to charge it if you want to do that. Otherwise, you will not be able to do that.
The doc charges it when I get up to the office, so we'll just get up there and get her plugged in.
That's good.
Looking forward to it. I hope Nick Anderson commits later today. That would be good. LSU LSU's doing well in the transfer portal. I'm encouraged by the amount of talent that they've been able to pull in. I think that this latest add in Mansour alone from Virginia Tech is a good one.
Maybe you can get an NIL deal with Mansour's on the Boulevard.
He maybe could. They got great gumbo over there.
They do. It's a great place.
Good spot. So it's not spelled the same.
No, it's different.
But you can do a radio spot and it sounds the same. You don't have to spell it. So
yeah, it's true.
There it is. So I guess I don't have anything on my laptop screen, but we can play Take It or Leave It if you want.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to read anything. You're not going to be able to. Sometimes Hunt adds a few Take It or Leave It. That will not be possible because his laptop is dead. So we'll just go ahead and start.
Great.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it
All right.
or leave it.
All right, first one here. Hunt will never learn from not bringing his laptop charger. Take it or leave it.
I don't have to learn.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Let me answer.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
That's uncalled for. It's just excessive. Every once in a while, this thing hasn't died in months.
Yeah, maybe.
I think you have to go back to baseball season for the last time.
I don't know about that.
We'll see.
All right, next one here. Nicolas Cage and Christian Bale are set to star in a John Madden biopic next year.
Okay.
With Nicolas Cage playing John Madden and Christian Bale playing former Raiders owner Al Davis. You'll go see this. Take it or leave it.
Nicolas Cage is John Madden?
Yes.
I don't think that works.
Well, Nicolas Cage is an interesting guy. I think he can do almost anything in his mind. So.
John Madden was phenomenal in Little Giants.
He was. That was a great movie.
The
by the way.
annexation of Puerto Rico.
Great movie.
Heck of a call there. I'm probably not going to see it. I don't see very many movies. I watched Home Alone last night. It was great.
Well,
got me in the mood.
It's a good Christmas movie.
It's very good. I got a few more that I got to check off the list this year. But I'm probably not going to watch the John Madden Nicolas Cage movie.
No, you know what, Hunt? We're gonna get you to go see that movie, and you're gonna give us a full report on it. Give us a nice little throwback to the Hunt Palmer film reviews.
I did do those during COVID. Saw some good movies, saw some terrible movies. Just Dazed and Confused, awful. The Goonies, terrible. What's that movie where they're all in high school? McConaughey's in it. The girls stay the same.
That's Dazed and Confused.
That is Dazed and Confused? Okay, yeah, that was terrible. What was the other one I watched? Oh, The Big Lebowski, awful.
That's just a horrible take by you, Hunt.
It's
just
terrible.
A horrible
just
take.
Stoner humor. That's just awful.
All right, moving on. Norfolk State has reportedly interviewed Michael Vick to be its next head football coach. Vick is 44. He and actually, funnily enough, Norfolk State just fired head coach Dawson Odoms, who used to actually coach at Southern.
Southern's old coach.
Yeah, they weren't very good this year. But Vic as head coach in college football, take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Most talented quarterback of all time. Can I make that argument?
You could make the argument.
Speed and arm strength.
Certainly could make the argument.
And sometimes those guys really can't coach because you can't do the stuff that the players can't do the stuff that you were able to do. But I'm all for it. I think that's good. I think that's a trend that we've seen a lot. I think Deion Sanders kind of got it going. Eddie George just jumped on, and then Michael Vick. Yeah, I'm all for it.
All right, last one here. In the lead up to Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau's set of a Vegas showdown in the quote unquote PGA versus Live match, Rory said on the range, "I'd like to get Bryson back for what he did to me at the U.S. Open." Bryson retorted, "Well, to be fair, you kind of did it to yourself." Bryson is right. Take it or leave it.
Oh, man. I got to take it.
I
said it that Monday when we came back that has to be defined as a choke. When you haven't missed a putt that short the entire year and you miss it in that spot, that's got to be a choke. But I did, just coincidentally, I don't know how this came up, but I was scrolling this weekend and I came on the U.S. Open broadcast that they were playing on Golf Channel or whatever. And it was right when Bryson was going to hit that fairway bunker shot on 18. That shot is so good.
Yeah.
It is tough I was pulling very hard against him, as you might imagine.
Yeah.
That shot was very, very good. So I can't say that it was all on Rory because Bryson made that ridiculous bunker shot that he knocked in there to 2-3 feet. But Rory choked. He can't miss those putts.
Can't miss them. All right, that's take it or leave it. You wouldn't know that because you don't have your laptop, but that is the last one.
And usually at the end of the show, I go back through the document.
You do
and I can tell you where.
How about this? I'll do it because you don't have your laptop.
I think I can. Let's see if I can get it right.
Okay,
we opened the show talking about LSU football in the portal.
Yes.
Then we talked about the Saints losing to the Commanders. Then we talked LSU hoops. Then at the end of the hour, we talked about Norvell giving $4.5 million back. opened hour number 2. We talked about new targets for LSU in the transfer portal. Then we talked about random NFL stuff for like 10 minutes, and then we had Denton Day.
Wow, Hunt, that is impressive recall on your part there.
I'm pretty special brain here.
You are.
Got cooking every day 1 to 3. Y'all are just y'all are able to lock in on one of the great minds in radio history, or not. That's it for Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Find them online, gcopnet.com. All your printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products. It's been fast and furious in the transfer portal for LSU, and we expect that to continue this afternoon. So I'll be all over that at louisianasports.net. If you missed any of the show that I just recapped there, you can find it wherever you find your podcast and, of course, on YouTube. That's it for us here on this Monday. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. He'll have a lot of reacting to do to the Saints and to LSU in the transfer portal as well. Hope you have a safe and happy Monday. We're back tomorrow previewing LSU hoops and probably talking some more portal. It'll be a Tuesday edition at that point of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been rocking and rolling at Boudreaux's Electrical for 40 years down there in Napoleonville. Now Justin, their son, is kind of taking the reins. I can tell you this, Boudreaux's Electrical, this is why you ought to go check them out to get your Generac home standby generator. Every single generator that they sell comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty depending on the type of generator that you buy. All of them. They're all installed by full-time employees. And they've got more than 10 technicians that are available to come out and service those generators if there's an issue. And they'll know if there's an issue because they monitor your Generac home standby generator remotely 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if there's some sort of mechanical failure, whether the generator's supposed to come on or not, they'll know about it and they can help you out with it. Phone number's the same one they've had for 40 years. It's 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, or in the 225 at 393-89. I give you the easy way every single day. Boudreaux's Electrical, boudreauxelectrical.com, boudreauxelectrical.com.